Hello everyone, welcome to my video. This video is part 5 on our discussion on provisions relating to Customs Act and in India. So especially in this video, we will be discussing on the Customs Rules 2017 as well as other miscellaneous provisions under Customs Law. So if you want to access part 1 to part 4 of the video, you can visit to the info tab which is visible on the top right corner of your screen. So the link are provided in that info tab. So let us get into our video. So first we will discuss about the concept relating to deemed exports under customs law. See, exports we have already discussed in detail. Exports means nothing but the goods that are leaving India. It is leaving the territorial waters of India and it has been taken to any place outside India. If the goods are taken from a place from India and it is taken to the place outside India, then that is called as an export under customs law. But certain transactions where actually the goods may not be leaving our place of India, that is the territorial waters of India, it may not leave the territorial waters, but still under the eyes of law it will be considered as the exports. This is nothing but a fiction created by law, and because of that fiction that particular transaction is deemed or considered as an export, though it is not actually an export. Clear or not? So whatever the characteristics related to export may not be satisfied here, but because of the fiction created by the law, these particular transactions are considered as exports in the eyes of law. That is the concept of deemed exports. See, as I told you, it may not be the goods may not be actually leaving the country. It may be supplied even within the country. As well, one of the key characteristics of an export is the realization from the export may be received from the convertible foreign exchange. It has to be received out of some convertible foreign exchange. But in these type of transactions, the the proceeds of the transaction may be realized in the INR itself, in the rupee itself. So it is nothing but the fictitious exports, or because of the fiction created by law, this is considered as an export. What are all those transactions? The first transaction of that nature is goods that are sold to units under 100% EOU. 100% EOU is certain units which are into the business of 100% exports. They are only doing the export business. That is called as 100% EOU. Second type of unit is STP, any unit situated inside software technology park. That is the second type of unit. Also electronic hardware technology park, that is relating to hardware. That is a separate place demarcated for that purpose. If any supply is made to these units, even though the units are situated in India, it will be considered as exports under the eyes of Customs Act. So it is called as deemed exports. That is one type of transaction. Second type of transaction is supply to any SEZ unit. SEZ is nothing but special economic zone. That is also a separate place demarcated for that purpose. Any units established inside a special economic zone would be established for the purely for the purpose of exports. Okay, that is what the basic definition of SEZ. So if any supply is made to units situated inside the special economic zone, that is considered as deemed exports under the customs law. Third type of transaction is any supply of capital goods to a fertilizer plant. If the capital goods supplied to a fertilizer plant is considered as export under the provisions of customs law. Clear? That is third type. Fourth type of transaction is any goods that are sold to United Nation agencies. Any agencies which is called as United Nation agencies, and if the goods are sold to those agencies, that is called as a export under Customs Act. Fifth type of transaction is any goods that are sold to certain projects. Okay, what are all those projects? Projects that are financed by bilateral agencies. Okay, certain agencies are called as bilateral agencies. Bilateral agencies, I will just give you an example, which is nothing but those agencies would have been created by more than one country. For example, if India join hands with China and create an agency, that is called as bilateral agency. And if that bilateral agency funds any project, and if that project is situated in India, and if any goods are supplied for the use of that project, that is called as exports under the customs law. It is, though it is not actually an export, it is a deemed export because of the fiction created here. So these are all the 5 types of transactions, though the goods are not actually leaving the country, but it will be considered as exports under the customs law. Clear? So this is for the provisions relating to deemed exports. Then we will discuss about certain provisions relating to duty drawback. See, we already discussed in our part 3 of the video, where we have discussed in detail that any export, any goods that are exported, it will have some benefit under the Customs Act. There would be some duty benefit provided to that. One of the duty benefit is called as duty drawback. What is called as duty drawback? If at all any goods that are in the nature of imported goods, those imported goods on which duty is also paid, if those imported goods are used in the process of manufacture and the resultant goods are exported, so you'll have to be very clear. See, for the export there will not be any customs duty, which we have already discussed, because under Customs Tariff Act Schedule 2, which says that for certain types of exports there will not be customs duty. For that which we have already discussed in our part 3 of the video. So that one part is over. Now you have some goods, which is goods, input goods, I can say input goods. Those input goods are in the nature of imported goods, and those imported goods have suffered duty. Okay, so if those goods are used for the purpose of manufacture of certain output goods, and those output goods are exported, in that case the imported goods which the duty it has suffered, that duty is eligible as drawback. Drawback means you can claim as a refund. That is the concept of duty drawback under customs law. The duty drawback can be claimed in 2 types of transactions. One is called as re-export type of transaction, which is discussed in section 74 of the Customs Act. Second type of transaction is an actual export, that is discussed under section 75 of the Customs Act. So these 2 sections and the export of these 2 are eligible for duty drawback. Okay, so what we will do now, after that let us discuss about section 74. Section 74 deals with duty drawback on re-export of goods. When we speak about re-export of goods, you should understand that the goods are initially imported and those imported goods are again re-exported. That is how you should understand these provisions. So here, when the goods which are imported, on those imports we have paid a duty, and those imported goods are again exported back, okay, re-exported. So that is the transaction which is covered under section 74. In those cases, what are all the duties you have paid on imports, that would be available as duty drawback for you. Okay, that is what the provisions here. Let us discuss about the conditions for claiming the duty drawback. Okay, if at all any benefit is provided under any law for the if you take any law, and if at all any benefits are provided, definitely those benefits will come with any terms and conditions only. Clear? So here also we have certain conditions to be satisfied in order to claim the duty drawback on such type of transaction. The conditions here is, first condition is the basic customs duty on imports should have been paid. See, when the goods you have imported, I told you if those goods are again exported back, that is what the transactions covered here. So for this, what you should do, there should be a basic customs duty should have been paid on the imports. That is the first condition for this. Second conditions are exported, the goods which are exported, it should be easily identifiable with the imported goods. I will give you an example. If your laptop is imported Okay, after importing, what you are doing, you are again exporting that laptop back. You are exporting for some purpose, you are exporting it. It should be the same laptop, maybe like serial number, all those things should be matching with that. So whatever the goods you are exporting, that should be matched with the goods that you have imported, and it should be matched with the satisfaction of assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner. Those assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner should be satisfied that whatever the goods that you have exported are determined, or it can be identified in the imported goods. Clear? So that is second condition. Third condition is there is no prohibition or restriction imposed by the government of India on the export of such goods. See, whatever the exports you are doing, on those exports there should not be any prohibitions or restrictions already in place. If that is there, then you cannot claim this duty drawback. Clear or not? So if the export which you are doing, it should be unrestricted or unprohibited by the government of India. Such type of exports only are eligible for this duty drawback. Okay, third condition. Fourth condition is the re-export has to happen within 2 years from the date of payment of duty on original import. See, here you should be very careful. The re-export should happen within 2 years. That is very clear. The 2 years should be counted from when? It should be counted from, not from the date of import. It is counted from the date of payment of duty on import. So you should be very careful. You should consider the date on when the duty is paid on that import, rather than you should not consider the date of import of goods. We have already discussed that those two dates can be different in some scenarios. If those two dates are different, then you should consider the date of payment of duty for counting this 2 years for the purpose of re-export conditions. Okay, and these 2 years can be further extended to another 2 years by CBIC or commissioner. Either commissioner or CBIC is empowered to extend this 2 years period to further 2 years if they are satisfied to do that extension. That is known already. Okay, so that is the fourth type of condition. Fifth condition is the market value of the goods that are exported should be minimum of the duty drawback claim. The provisions here states simply, see, the market value, it does not speak about the transaction value. Whatever the amount of transaction you are taking it for the purpose of export, that is not relevant here. The market value of the goods which are getting exported now, that market value should be at least the value of the duty drawback claim. At least means it is known that it should be equal to or more than the duty drawback claim. If that condition is satisfied, then only you are eligible to claim the duty drawback upon re-export of the imported goods under section 74. These are all the 5 conditions. Okay, once we determine that all these 5 conditions are satisfied, then now we will have to quantify the amount of duty drawback. Okay, it is not that the entire amount of duty paid on imports are available as a drawback. It is not that case. The amount has to be quantified. For this quantification purpose, let us refer to this table provided here. For this table purpose, we will have to divide the goods that are imported into 2 categories. Now, it is not the export, it is the goods that are imported. If the goods imported are used for business purpose, that is one category, or if the goods that are imported are used for personal purpose. If the goods are used for business purpose, then we will have to refer to the first table in our screen. If the goods are imported for personal purpose, then we will have to refer to second table. In these 2 tables provide you the percentage or the amount of duty drawback that you are eligible to claim for. But you should be having this in mind. You can refer to this table, or the quantity the quantification of the amount can be done only after you determine that the duty drawback is eligible as per the conditions which we discussed in our previous slide. That is very important here. Okay, let us now understand the first table here. For this first table, where the goods are imported for business purpose, that is further classified into two. What is that? This further classification is with relation to re-export now. See, the goods are imported for business purpose. Now it is getting re-exported. That re-export is happening either without getting used in India, or it can be used in India. One is before use, another one is after use. See, you import the goods, you use in India, and again you export it back. That is one scenario. Second scenario is you import the goods, you have not at all used that goods in India, and you are re-exporting that back. These two scenarios are possible under the import of goods for business purpose. In these two scenarios, the first table here gives you the amount of duty drawback when the re-exported goods are used in India. If it is already used in India, after using that in India, you are exporting it outside India, then you will have to refer to the table here. For that, you should refer inside this table. It says that when the goods are re-exported after the date of payment of duty, it is speaking about the period mentioned inside the table are calculated starting from the date of payment of duty on import. From that date, if it is re-exported within 3 months, then you are eligible for 95% of duty. Okay, that is how you should understand this table. And if the goods are re-exported from 3 months to 6 months, starting from the date of payment of duty on imports, then you are eligible for a duty drawback of 85%. So on, it is going like that. For every 3 months, the percentage of duty drawback differs, or you can say it is getting reduced. So how we can able to remember this percentages? I will just tell you how to remember the percentages. You can see that the first percentage, see, the moment you import the goods and you start using it in India, if you are using it up to 3 months, I will call it as first quarter. See, here the 3 months or 3 months to 6 months, everything is provided in the law itself. But for our understanding purpose, I will convert that months into quarters here. And if the goods are re-exported within first quarter, then there will be a reduction of 5%. So only 95% you are eligible. Quarter 1 is over. If it is re-exported in Q2 or Q3, then the reduction will be 10% compared to the previous quarter. See, first quarter it is 95%. In Q2 it will be 10% lesser than the previous quarter. It means 95% minus 10% will give you 85% if it is re-exported in quarter 2. If it is re-exported in quarter 3, again 10% reduction will be there compared to the previous quarter. What is the previous quarter? 85%. From there 10%, it will give you 75%. From fourth quarter onwards, you should consider it as 5% reduction. Clear or not? So 5% reduction from then on until quarter 6. See, here you can understand that the re-export should happen within 2 years is what we have discussed in our previous slide. But if the goods are imported for business purpose, then the re-export can happen within 18 months. If the re-export happens after 18 months, then you are not at all eligible for any duty drawback. Clear or not? So the 2 years which we have discussed, here you can see a conflict. That in the previous slide you said that up to 2 years it can be re-exported, but here you are saying that after 18 months you are not eligible for duty drawback. Here it does not say that you cannot do the export or you are not eligible. It says that after 18 months the amount of duty drawback you will be eligible is nil. Okay, so up to 18 months you can get some amount. It is what after using, and the import also has to happen for business purpose. Clear or not? So up to 18 months, up to quarter 6, we are seeing that up to 60% of the duty drawback you are eligible. You should remember this clause. That is for if the goods are used. If the goods are not used, then up to 2 years you can re-export, and the amount of duty drawback you are eligible is 98% of the amount of duty you have paid. Only 2% reduction will be there up to 2 years if you have not at all used those goods and you are re-exporting it again. Clear or not? So this is what the first table here. Second table, if the goods are imported for personal purpose, if it is imported for personal purpose, that will also be further classified into two, and the re-export happens without using in India, or re-export happens after using in India. If the re-export happens after using in India, we will refer the table here. What is the table says? It gives you the percentage for every quarter. There are some reduction in percentages if the goods are old for more number of quarters. If the re-export happens after usage in the first quarter, after the date of payment of duty on import, you should also consider the date of payment of duty only here. Clear? From there, first quarter. If it is re-exported within quarter 1, then you are eligible for 96% of duty drawback, 4% reduction. So from then on, there are so many percentages provided here. I will tell you for you to remember these percentages. How can you remember these percentages? If the goods are sold within first year will consist of 4 quarters, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, within first year. Within first year, every quarter it is getting crossed, it will have a reduction of 4% compared to the previous quarter. See, for example, if you take the date of import as 0, day 0, that day you can say that it is 100%. The moment you have crossed one day also, it is within the Q1. If it is within Q1, then it will be 4% reduction will be there. From 100%, 4% reduction is 96% Q1. When you enter into Q2, you will have to further reduce it from the percentage eligible for the previous quarter. Q1 96, Q2 92, 4% reduction. Q3 92% minus 4% will give you 88%. Again Q4 88% minus 4%, 84%. Now you have understood for first year. When you enter into the second year, that is Q5, the percentage reduction compared to the previous quarter will become 3%. Clear or not? So for the entire 3 year, all the 4 quarters of 3 year, you should reduce 3% compared to the previous quarter. So starting from Q5, it will be what it was until Q4, it was 84%. In Q5, the reduction will be not 4%, it will be 3% now. So the duty drawback eligible is 81%. So Q6, it will become 3% minus 81% is 78%, and so on. So second year is over. So up to 2 years, this is what the table we have, and the maximum amount of the minimum amount of duty drawback you can expect after using it is what? 72%. If it is for business purpose, it is 60% up to 18 months. Here you have up to 2 years time period, and the amount you are getting is 72%. It is comparatively higher, right, if it is imported for personal purpose. Similarly, if the goods are imported for personal purpose and you are re-exporting without using, here you are re-exporting without using. If the re-export happens without usage and it has to happen immediately means there is not much time period provided, like you import it, again immediately you are re-exporting it. At that time you are eligible for 98%. So it is, if you, for example, if you take this scenario, you have imported it and you have not re-exported it immediately. If you re-exported it immediately without using, then you are eligible for 98%. Okay, if you take the scenario that I have not re-exported it immediately, I have kept the goods without using, I have kept the goods in India for 3 months. Sorry, 3 months I have kept it. It means what? It has been there for entire Q1. Can we say that we are eligible for 98%? Because it says the re-export should happen immediately. In those scenarios, you cannot take it as 98%. You should refer to the table here. Though it is not used, you are just keeping it for Q1, you can consider here it as used, and you have to refer to the table here for the percentage eligible for duty drawback. I think it should be clear now. So let us get into the next slide. Next slide speaks about, it starts from what? It starts from Q9, quarter 9 up to quarter 8, it is 2 years. Now we are going to refer quarter 9. It is only for personal purpose, not business purpose, because business purpose we saw that within 2 years itself, that is up to 18 months itself, the duty drawback eligible becomes nil. After 18 months itself, your duty drawback eligibility is nil. So you do not have a question after 2 years now. But in case of personal purpose, up to 2 years you have certain percentage. It can even extend beyond 2 years with the prior approval of CBIC or commissioner, which we have already discussed in our earlier slide. It can be further extended up to next 2 years is what we saw now. So that is year 1, year 2 is over, year 3 and year 4 is also possible if the commissioner or CBIC allows for it. Okay, so in those cases, how the percentage will be, eligibility will come. In this cases, just understand this way: the moment it enters into 3 years, then up to in first year you were reducing 4 percentages every quarter. In second year you were reducing 3 percentages every quarter. In year 3 you should reduce 2.5 percentage every quarter compared to the previous quarter. This is in year 3. The moment you enter into year 4, you should reduce 2 percentages. So to keep it simple, or to summarize with, in the first year, every quarter there will be a reduction of 4 percentages compared to previous quarter. In the second year, the reduction percentage will become 3 percentage reduction compared to the previous quarter. In the third year, the reduction percentage will become 2.5 percentage reduction compared to the previous quarter. And in the fourth year, the reduction percentage will come back to 2 percentage compared to the previous quarter. Up to 4 years only it is eligible, because the law says that up to 4 years only the re-export can happen. After 4 years you cannot do the re-export, or if you are doing the re-export, you are not eligible for to claim this duty drawback. Are we clear with the provision? Now we will see certain transactions where duty drawback is not at all eligible. Duty drawback or ineligible. What is that? One is if you are re-exporting any wearing apparel. Wearing apparel means like any shoes, any sandals, or any of your dresses or something like that. It is called as wearing apparel. And if that wearing apparel is re-exported, in those cases you are not eligible for duty drawback. Not for all this re-export. It is only re-export of the used wearing apparel. You import some wearing apparel, you use it, then you are re-exporting. In those cases, duty drawback is not eligible. But if you have not used it, then you can refer to the table, you are eligible for duty drawback. Clear? This is one transaction. Second transaction is if you are re-exporting any tea chests. If tea chests are getting re-exported, then in those case also the duty drawback is not eligible. Third transaction is exposed cinematograph film. Exposed means already released. For example, some producer have shot some movie. If those movies already exposed, it means that it has been released by him, by the producer, and it is also approved by the Censor Board of India. There is a censor board, if those censor board has approved that cinematography, that is the movie, and if that movie has already been released in India, and if that movies are exported, it is taken outside India, in those cases you are not eligible for duty drawback. I will give you an example. If the person is importing some movie which is produced by Marvel Cinemas, you know about, there are some superhero movies coming produced by Marvel. If Marvel superhero movies are imported into India, okay, after importing, it will also be subject to the censor board certification here. If the censor board approves those Marvel movies, and after they have approved it, it has been released widely in the theaters. After we run it in theaters for some days, if the same movie you are exporting it again to some other country, in those cases, if you have paid any duty on the import, you cannot claim duty drawback on that. Clear? It has to be, the condition here is it should be an exposed cinematography. It means that it has already been released or it is being given for the public viewing. Okay, that is third type of transaction. Fourth type of transaction is unexposed photographic films. Unexposed photographic films means like roll tapes or films which is not exposed, and any paper plates or any X-ray films. If these items are re-exported, then duty drawback is not eligible on that. Are we clear? Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll try to understand this duty drawback provisions with an example now. Okay, what this example says, we will have to calculate the amount of duty drawback allowable under section 74. Okay, the question here is, first scenario, Salman imported a motor car for his personal use. The motor car is imported for personal use and he has paid 5 lakh as import duty. Import duty is paid as 5 lakh. The car is re-exported after 6 months and 20 days. 6 months, if it is re-imported after 6 months and 20 days, now we are into quarter 3. Okay, if it is in quarter 3, then the car is used for imported for personal use. And what is the amount of duty drawback eligible now? We are eligible for, in quarter 1 it will be 96%, in quarter 2 it will become 92% because 4% from the previous quarter reduction. In quarter 3 there will be a further reduction of 4% from the previous quarter, it will be 88%. So on 5 lakh you will have to calculate 88%, and that is the amount of duty drawback, which will come around 4 lakh and 40,000. That is the duty drawback amount. Okay, second transaction, Nisha has imported wearing apparel. Nisha has imported wearing apparel and paid 50,000 as import duty. She did not like the apparel. These are re-exported after 20 days. Clear or not? It is re-exported after 20 days. If 20 days is considered as almost, it is like almost immediately. If the wearing apparel is re-exported, it means what? If it is re-exported immediately, then we can say that the wearing apparel is not, it is re-exported without being used in India. If the wearing apparel is re-exported after 20 days, it means that the wearing apparel is already used in India. It is deemed to be already used in India. If used wearing apparel is re-exported, it means that we saw that the duty drawback is not eligible on this transaction. So there is no duty drawback on this. Third transaction, Supertech Limited imported 10 computer systems, paying customs duty of 50 lakh. Due to some technical problems, the computer systems were returned to foreign supplier after 2 months without using them at all. See, if Supertech Limited has imported 10 computer systems, it is considered that the goods are imported for business purpose. The goods are imported for business purpose and they have not used those goods. If the goods are imported for business purpose and not used, then up to 2 years they have time to re-export it. If it is re-exported within 2 years, then they are eligible for 98% of duty drawback. But if you take the scenario, if the company has imported those items for personal purpose, then it has to be re-exported immediately. If it is re-exported after 2 months, then it is deemed as used in India. So if it is used, then you will have to refer to the table only. If it is 2 months, then it is quarter 1. They are eligible for 96% only. But since it is the goods are imported for business purpose and not used, and it is exported within 2 years, then the company is eligible for 98% of as duty drawback. So on 50 lakh, if you calculate 98%, it will come around 49 lakhs. That is how we will answer this question. I think now you would have understood the provisions of duty drawback under section 74. Now let us discuss duty drawback on export under section 75. So under this section it says that the goods which are exported back, here it is not considered as re-export, it is nothing but a regular export. This regular export, when the duty drawback is eligible, if the imported goods are used for manufacturing some output goods and those output goods are exported in a normal scenario. That is, here it is not considered as re-export, it is a normal export. In those cases, if the goods that are exported is named in all industry duty drawback list, there is a separate duty drawback list which is published by the government of India. They will publish, these are all the all industry duty drawback list. All industry means all the industry taken together. These are all the duty drawback list. If these goods are named in those all industry duty drawback list, then you have two possibilities. One is if it is named, or if it is not named. If it is named, then you will have to see two scenarios here. That is, the amount of duty drawback is greater than or equal to 80% of the duty paid already. See, in the duty drawback list, they will give you some percentage of duty drawback. If that percentage is less than 80 percentage, clear, based on that list, if it is less than 80 percentage, then you will have to, sorry, if it is more than or equal to 80 percentage, then you will have to refer to all India duty drawback rates, and that based on that rate you are eligible for the duty drawback. If that duty drawback is less than 80 percentage, then you will have to refer to the special brand rate of duty drawback. There is another rate which is called as special brand rate. On that rate basis, you are eligible for the duty drawback. If the amount of duty drawback as per all industry duty drawback list is less than 80 percentage, you should be very clear here. Okay, the second leg of this chart is, if the goods that are exported are not named in all industry duty drawback list, if it is not at all listed there, then you will have to refer to brand rate of duty drawback. In the previous classification, we saw it as special brand rate. Here it is called as brand rate. Both are different. So you will have to refer to brand rate for determining the amount of duty drawback. Okay, so here there is one note here, some point note here is, while applying for the duty drawback, the exporter has to choose before applying itself that whether they want to apply this all industry duty drawback rates, or they will have to refer to the special brand rate of duty drawback. Because I told you, if it is more than 80 percentage, less than 80 percentage, then the eligibility differs. So it is at the option of the exporter. The exporter can choose, and he has to choose prior to the export itself. Before exporting the goods itself, he has to choose whichever the rate he wants to apply for claiming the duty drawback. This particular provision is applicable with effect from 22nd November 2014. Okay, from then the exporter has to choose even before exporting those goods under which category they want to claim the duty drawback. This is as per section 75. Next we will discuss about section 76. This section discusses about negative list of duty drawback. Negative list means in these scenarios you cannot claim duty drawback at all. This is negative list. Positive list means in the following scenarios you are eligible for duty drawback. Negative list is in the following scenarios you are not eligible for duty drawback. In the two slides before, we saw on certain re-exports you are not eligible for duty drawback. This is as similar to that, okay, where you are not eligible for duty drawback at all. What are all those cases? First case is, if the amount of duty drawback you are eligible, if it is less than rupees 50, if the amount is less than 50 rupees, then you cannot claim duty drawback on that. You will have to ignore that amount. That is first case. Second case is, if there is any negative sales. What is meant by negative sales? If the sale is made less than profit, it is if the sale is made on loss, that is called as negative sales. In negative sales scenario also you cannot claim any duty drawback. Third is if ITC is availed. See, if you have availed already the input tax credit on the duties you have already paid. In those cases, if the input tax is already availed, you cannot claim that amount as duty drawback. It is obvious. You cannot get a double benefit. You already availed an input tax credit, also you cannot claim the duty drawback on that. So that is not allowed. But except, it says that except basic customs duty, because basic customs duty is not, anyway it is not eligible for input tax credit. So that is the reason BCD can be claimed as duty drawback. But if any other taxes, we already discussed that IGST is also payable upon imports. If those IGST you have already availed input tax credit on that IGST, you cannot again claim a duty drawback on that IGST part. Okay, that is third case. Fourth case is export proceeds are not realized in hard currency. What we call it as hard currency. Hard currencies are nothing but it is like US dollars, British pounds. Okay, these are all the currencies which is considered as hard currencies. If the amount exports after export, if the real proceeds of the export is not realized in any of these hard currency, in which case if the export is made to Nepal or Bhutan, if the export is made to Nepal or Bhutan and the export proceeds are not realized in any hard currency, then in that cases you are not eligible to claim duty drawback. Fourth situation. Then fifth situation is, if the duty drawbacks percentage, the percentage of duty drawback calculated on the FOB value of goods, if it is calculated on a FOB value of goods and that percentage comes to less than 1% of the FOB value, then, and also the value of the amount, the value is also less than rupees 500. If that is the case, you are not eligible to claim the duty drawback. In first case I told you the duty drawback is less than 50, you are not eligible, but if it is more than 50, then you are eligible. That is what we saw in the first case. In this case we say, if we compute the percentage of duty drawback on the FOB value and that value comes to less than 1%, also that amount is less than 500, if these two conditions are satisfied, then also you cannot claim a duty drawback. You will have to consider that as a negligible amount and you will have to ignore it. You should not claim any duty drawback on that. Next case is, if you are eligible or if you have already claimed a DEPB. DEPB is nothing but deposit export passbook. There is some passbook, they will say that on the duty, because with this passbook you can claim some drawback on that, some benefit you can claim. If DEPB is you have got the DEPB or any other export incentives is already you have eligible and you have claimed that, in those cases you cannot again claim a duty drawback here. You can get only one benefit, you cannot get 2 or 3 benefits. Next scenario is, sale proceeds are not realized within the time period allowed by RBI. We have already told you that under FEMA Act, RBI has already prescribed within which time the export proceeds has to be realized. If the within the time limit, if the export proceeds are not realized, then you are not eligible to claim any duty drawback. Last scenario, which we have already discussed, if the duty drawback is more than the market value of exported goods. If it is greater than the market value of exported goods, then also you are not eligible to claim duty drawback. Okay, these provisions we can able to understand better with the discussion of the following example. Okay, this examples in this example what we will have to do, there are some 3 scenarios. For these 3 scenarios we will have to calculate the amount of duty drawback that is allowable under the Customs Act. What is the first scenario? Jaggi Mehta imported a car from UK for his personal use and paid 4,50,000 as import duty. However, the car is re-exported immediately without bringing it into use. It is what? It is coming into, the car is imported for personal use and immediately getting re-exported. In that case, we have already discussed in our earlier slide that if it is re-exported immediately without use, which is imported for personal use, then you are eligible for 98% as duty drawback. So here also this person is eligible for 98%. So if you calculate 98% on 4,50,000, the amount you will get is 4,41,000. That is the amount of duty drawback. Next question. Meenakshi imported a music player from Dubai and paid 12,000 as import duty. She used it for 4 months and re-export the same after 4 months. In that case, what is the amount of duty drawback she is eligible? Meenakshi can claim a duty drawback of how many percentage? She can claim a duty drawback of 85%. Here she has imported a music player. Here we are considering it as what? We are considering it as imported for business purpose. So it is 85% after 4 months. If it is 3 to 6 months, we have seen already in the table there that it is 85% she is eligible for duty drawback. Third scenario, XYZ Limited exported 1000 kgs of a metal of FOB value of 1 lakh. Here the FOB value is 1 lakh. Rate of duty drawback on such export is rupees 60 per kg. Market price of goods is 40,000. Now we will calculate the duty drawback. If you calculate the amount of duty drawback is 60 rupees on 1000 kgs will give you 60,000 rupees. But the market price of the goods is only 40,000. If the duty drawback amount is greater than the market value of the goods, then you are not eligible to claim the duty drawback, which we have discussed in our previous slide. So here XYZ Limited is not entitled for any duty drawback at all. Okay, this is how the question is answered now. Now we will see some scenarios where the amount of duty drawback paid cannot be recovered. It cannot be recovered. There is a notification under this, notification number 30/2011, and which is dated on 11th of April 2011. This notification says, under Rule 16A of Central Excise Duties and Service Tax Drawback Rules 1995. Okay, under that rule it says if the sale proceeds are not realized within the time allowed by RBI, which we have already discussed. If the sale proceeds on exports are not realized within the time period allowed by RBI under FEMA Act, duty drawback cannot be recovered in the following situations. When one is, if the non-realization of the export proceeds is compensated by ECGC. See, I told you, if the export proceeds are not realized, then you are not eligible for duty drawback. If the duty drawback is already paid to you by the government, what the government will do? They will try to recover it back. But in the following scenario, the government cannot recover the duty drawback amount already paid to you if the following cases are coming into place. First one is, the non-realization of export proceeds is compensated by Export Credit Guarantee Commission. There is one commission. If Export Credit Guarantee Commission under some insurance cover, if they are guaranteeing the payment, then duty drawback cannot be recovered by government. Second is, if RBI has written off the amount of realization which you have to make, if RBI has written it off based on some merits, then duty drawback cannot be recovered by government. Third one is, if any certificate is which is obtained from Foreign Mission of India, and if it is furnished by the exporter about non-recovery of the amount, they have not realized the amount, for that non-realization of amount they have got a certificate from Foreign Mission of India, and that certificate is furnished to the authorities. In those cases, the authorities cannot recover the duty drawback already paid to the exporter. Okay, this is as per notification number 30/2011. Now we will understand the case law here. So the case law, which is between Union of India versus Rajindra Dyeing and Printing Mills Limited in the year 2005, and the case law was decided by Honorable Supreme Court. We will understand the facts of the case. The facts is, goods are exported through a vessel. Here the exporter has exported the goods through a vessel, and the vessel has caught in a rough weather and it has sank into the water. Okay, the vessel has sank into the water. Where it has sank? It has sank within the territorial waters of India. Even before it crossed the territorial waters of India, it has sank inside the water because of some rough weather. Now this assessee is having the question whether they are eligible for duty drawback. The decision of Supreme Court states that if it is to be called as export, it means that the goods has to leave the territorial waters of India. After it crosses the territorial waters, what is territorial water? We have already discussed in part 1 of the video. Up to 12 nautical miles from the shore inside the sea is called as territorial waters of India. If the ship or the vessel has not crossed the 12 nautical miles itself, then it means that the export itself is not completed. If there is no exporter, then there is no question of duty drawback. Here the vessel has sunk within the territorial waters itself. It has not even crossed the territorial waters, so export is not completed here. So the assessee here, Rajindra Dyeing and Printing Mills Limited, is not eligible for duty drawback. Okay, that is what decided by Honorable Supreme Court in this case. Okay, now let us discuss about some provisions relating to imports by 100% export oriented unit or SEZ unit. If these two units are importing goods, then what is the provisions? Okay, if the imports are done by export oriented unit or EHTP or STP, then it is allowed, these units are allowed to import the goods without payment of basic customs duty as well as any other additional duty. Okay, so these units are eligible to import the goods without payment of duty, but GST will be levied on the goods that are imported. If the goods are imported, it is considered as interstate supply, and IGST will be levied on that. Okay, even though the imports are done by these units, GST will be levied, but basic customs duty or any other duties under Customs Act, it will not be levied. Okay, also if the goods are cleared on DTA sale, see, the imports are done by EOU, and the EOU means what it is. The import is done for the purpose of export only. But if the EOU is clearing the goods for the DTA sale, DTA sale means domestic tariff area within India itself, they are supplying the goods. In those cases, the GST that will be charged automatically. If there is an outward supply, then there will be GST chargeable on that. GST will be charged on such outward supply, and that can be adjusted with the input tax credit on the GST you have paid on imports. That is allowed. Second is, the EOU has claimed the exemption. No, they have not paid duty upon import, right? If those goods are cleared for within the domestic tariff area, then they will have to pay the amount of exemption they have claimed, that the duty which they have claimed as exemption, they will have to pay it now. If the goods are cleared within India, if the goods are again exported back, they are not, they need not claim it. But if it is cleared for home consumption, or it is cleared within India itself, then they will have to pay that amount. If the goods are imported by SCZ, then what are all the provisions? If it is imported by SCZ unit, still they are not eligible, they are not required to pay basic customs duty or any additional duties. That is intact. In case of GST, I told you, if it is imported by EOU or SHTP and all, they will have to pay the GST for the imports. But for SCZ, the provisions are different. Any supply made to SCZ unit, it is considered as zero rated supply. So zero rated supply, for that they can import it under bond or LUT. We have discussed the provisions relating to bond or LUT already in detail in our part 4 of the video. So they can import the goods without payment of GST also by furnishing a bond or LUT. Okay, this is what the provisions relating to imports by EOU or a SCZ unit. If the imports are done as a part of project import means nothing but there is a wholesome project is being carried on, and any imports done for that particular project, it is called as project imports. These items that are imported under project import scheme, some scheme is there, it is called as project import scheme, and this scheme is represented by a customs tariff heading. I told you that any rate for customs has to be referred under the Customs Tariff Act. Under Customs Tariff heading, there is a code for this project import scheme. That code is 9801. If those imports are done, then there is no entry relating to charging of CVD on that. CVD is nothing but countervailing duty, not basic customs duty, it is the additional duties. There is no entry for that. It means you cannot charge a single rate as a project import. So what you have to do, you will have to divide or see the items imported inside that project, and for each and every item what is the applicable rate of duty, that duty you will have to apply in case of CVD. But under GST regime, project imports are classified under the same heading only, that is 9801, and IGST will be charged at the rate of 18%, because under 9801 the IGST rate they have provided is 18%. So this is what the provisions relating to project imports. Now let us discuss about Customs Rules 2017. Which rule we are going to discuss now? Customs Import of Duty at Concessional Rate of Duty Rules 2017. This is what the rules we'll be discussing now. In that, rule number 2 states about this rule is inserted by way of a notification number 68/2017, which is dated on 30th of June 2017. This notification applies to importer who are intending to avail the benefit of exemption notification. Okay, where the benefit of exemption is dependent upon the use of imported goods covered by the notification. If the intention to avail the benefit of exemption notification, then you will have to refer to Rule 4. Rule 4 says that the following information has to be provided by the importer. This information has to be provided to jurisdictional AC or DC. If at all I refer as jurisdictional AC or DC, it means that any assistant commissioner or joint deputy commissioner who has the authority or jurisdiction over the area where the imported goods are used for manufacture or for the purpose of providing output services. You have imported the goods and that goods are used for the purpose of manufacture in some area, and some AC or DC will be a jurisdictional AC for that area. So whenever I refer as jurisdictional AC, you will have to refer to that person. What are all the details to be provided to them? One is name and address of the manufacturer, the person who is importing and manufacturing, his name and address has to be provided, and the particulars of amount that are goods that are produced in his facility. In his manufacturing facility, what is the goods that he is producing, those particulars has to be provided. Nature and description of the imported goods used in the manufacture for providing output service. Okay, nature and description of the imported goods has to be provided by the importer here under rule 4. Now let us discuss rule 5. Rule 5 speaks about what are the following items. One is what are all the information to be furnished. We say that the information, one is what is the information furnished by the importer, and what are all the additional information he has to file under rule 5. One is estimated quantity and value of goods that are imported. Whatever the quantity and value of the goods that are imported, that has to be furnished. Particulars of exemption notification applicable. What is the exemption notification, that also to be given, and which port the import is going to happen, that also to be provided by the importer. It has to be provided in duplicate, it means in 2 copies to the jurisdictional AC or DC, and one set of that copy has to be furnished or submitted to the AC or DC in charge of the import station where the goods are going to import. No, in that station, whoever is the in charge of DC or AC in charge, for him 1 copy has to be provided, and 2 copies has to be provided to the jurisdictional AC or DC. Okay, that is point number 1. Point number 2 is they have to submit a bond as well. This bond is called as continuity bond or surety bond. Surety bond means this importer is going to avail the benefit of exemption. No, they will have to give the surety that whatever the conditions provided by the notification, that will be satisfied by the importer. If in the moment if it is not satisfied, then they are not eligible for this exemption. So what will happen, the authority has to collect the money. For that, the importer has to provide this surety. This surety bond will act as a security for the exemption which is availed by the importer here. And that surety bond has to specify that the importer is undertaking to pay the amount of the differential duty. What is called as differential duty? The amount of duty which the importer has paid under the notification compared to the amount of duty if the notification is not there. What is the amount of duty he will pay along with interest? This is called as differential duty. Along with that interest, you will have to provide an undertaking. Okay, that is rule 5. And point number 2. Point number 3 is a copy of all these documents, the surety bond as well as the documents to be furnished. All these documents, 1 copy has to be furnished to the AC or DC who are in charge for the import station, the station where the goods are getting imported. For them, the AC or DC in charge of that import station, 1 copy of these items to be forwarded. And whatever the notification benefit allowed to the importer, it can be allowed by AC or DC after receiving all the documents. Okay, after receiving all the documents, the AC or DC will calculate the amount of duty for the import. At that time, they will give the benefit of this exemption notification, and accordingly they will charge the duty from the importer. This is what rule number 5. Rule number 6 speaks about maintenance of records and documents relating to imports. The information about the receipt of imported goods, whatever the goods you have imported, all the information relating to that has to be furnished within 2 days of the receipt of goods. Within 2 days, you will have to exclude holidays while computing these 2 days. Okay, within 2 days, these documents has to be furnished. And the importer has to indicate quantity and value of the goods that are imported and consumed for the manufacture, that is to be given, and quantity of goods that are re-exported and that are remaining in stock. All these details has to be provided. To whom it has to be provided? It has to be provided to the jurisdictional DC or AC. And importer has to submit a quarterly return within 10 days from the end of the quarter. Within relevant quarter, they will have to file a quarterly return about all this information within 10th day of the end from the end of the quarter. We'll discuss about Rule 7 now. Rule 7 speaks about re-export or clearance of unutilized or defective goods. See, you have imported some goods but you have not utilized for manufacture, or if the goods are defective, in those cases those goods can be re-exported. Relating to that, what are all the provisions? That is what we'll be discussing now. The importer shall re-export the unutilized or defective goods when within 6 months from the date of import. Within 6 months from the date of import, he has to re-export it, and this has to be re-exported with the prior permission of jurisdictional AC or DC. Jurisdictional AC's, DC's or DC's prior permission has to be obtained before re-export, and the value of re-export should be greater than or equal to market value of such imported goods. Okay, whatever the value you have paid for importing that goods, the re-export value should be equal to or more than that. It should not be less than that. Okay, that is first point. Second point is these goods can be re-exported or it can be even cleared for local consumption. See, if it is not utilized for your manufacture purpose, one option you have is you can re-export it back, or you can sell it to some person within India itself. If in that case, what is the provisions you will have to follow? If the importer has availed the benefit of this exemption notification, if he is clearing those goods locally within 6 months, within 6 months from the date of import, if he is clearing for a local consumption, then after he will have to pay the differential amount of duty. I told you that the amount of benefit he has received from the notification, that differential amount he has to pay along with interest. Okay, it has to be calculated from the date of import till the date of clearance for local consumption. Okay, that is what rule number 7 say. Rule number 8 says that recovery of duty in certain cases. In the following cases, the department will recover the amount of duty from the importer. What cases? If the imported goods are not used as per the conditions of notification. See, the importer has availed benefit as per notification. If the imported goods are not used as per the conditions of notification, or the conditions of the notification is violated, then the amount of benefit the importer has availed, it is subject to recovery by the officer. How? Or if the goods are not cleared as per rule 7, we spoke in the rule 7, no? What are all the conditions under rule 7? If the goods are not cleared as per rule 7, then what will happen? The jurisdictional AC or DC may invoke the surety bond. They may invoke the surety bond and they will lodge a claim. They will invoke a recovery proceedings against the importer. On what amount they will recover? They will recover the differential duty along with interest. What is differential duty? The amount of duty benefit which you have got based on the notification. That is what the differential duty. Okay, so that is what provided under rule 8. In these scenarios, the department will recover the amount of duty. Okay, so with this, our discussion on customs rules as well as some other miscellaneous provisions, like we have discussed about duty drawback provisions, we have discussed about deemed export provisions. All these discussions we have completed now. Okay, so with this I will like to conclude my discussion on this topic of customs law provisions. Okay, if at all you have any doubts or you have any questions, you can ask the same in the comment section. Okay, let us meet in another video in future. Thanks everyone for patiently watching this video. Okay, thank you.